Hello and welcome to CineTracer version 0.56. This is the material editor update. This has been a long time coming. Took a couple months to get this designed and built out, but now we have a lot of control over the materials on the objects. These have been designed and built mostly in Houdini, and this material system took quite a while to get up and running, but here we are. Now things can glow, and we're going to do a quick demo on how this works, and then recreate this neon set here, so that you can build one yourself. So let's go over how the new material editor works, and then we will build our little neon fighting pit. So I'm going to switch to editor by hitting Y. And a good demo piece for this is, I think, this facade here. So you'll see that the color of the awning is a little different. So in this object here, this block, we have 4 different slots in our material editor. We have the wall itself, which is, in this case, it's the same for both sides. Sometimes it's not. We have the awning, which is this red one here. We have the window, and we have the window sash, which is like this frame here. So let's go over some of the options we have for materials, and I'll customize this for you right now. When we go into our first slot, you can get back to the slot view here. So we go in, go back, in. Presets is not implemented yet. That will be coming in the future once I get the system a little bit more fleshed out. The first and main thing you want to change is the base material here. So you can click on this and you have a selection of materials. These are basically all custom made by me to work with this system, as is this. And it's taken quite a few months to get this all work together. But now we have a system that is much closer to how Unreal Engine works, and it has a lot more control than we had before. So I'm going to switch to this concrete. You see the material changes as you'd expect. It can be marble. And I'm going to choose something like this wood. With these planks on it. So the next thing you can do once you pick your base material is you can do a color tint. So I'm going to take this, what is now kind of brown wood, and I'm tinting it. Right? I'm tinting it green, tinting it blue, and what's happening is we're actually basically combining. We're mixing the brown of the default material. So when you pull saturation out, that's the default material there, the base material. But as soon as you add saturation, you're basically tinting and mixing these colors together. You're not completely overriding it, though in this case it kind of looks like it. If you want to, however, override the base color, you can change this here, which is tint, clear, and opaque. So when it's over here, it's mixing the colors, but as you go like this, you'll see that now we've completely taken over the color channel. But we still have the normal maps and the bumps and that sort of stuff. So this is sort of a blend between the base tint and just completely painting over it. In the last material editor, it was a checkbox. Now it's a slider with a little bit more finesse and control. So I'm going to actually reset this, which all you do is you pull the saturation out, and now basically that resets it. We're going to look at some of these other things that we had in the past, but they're a little bit different. So now we have the base and shiny. So every time the slider is back over here, it's the default, right? So not much is being changed, but as you slide any of these over, things change. So this one's kind of subtle, but what we've done is we've made it a little shinier. It's not super clear at the moment, but what we can do is combine it by making it metallic, like this, right? So now this is kind of like a metal material here. And you can see the reflection in the object. I'll move her a little bit more like here, right? So you can really see the reflection there. And if I pull this down, you'll see that this is not very shiny, and this is shiny, combined with it being metal. With the metal in general, I would say it's usually either like 0 or 1, but feel free to blend between them. I tend to just be 0 or 1. It's up to you. And one of the more interesting things that we can do now is actually glow the object like this. So anything can essentially be a glowing, almost light source. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So that's pretty cool. So I'm going to do the windows now. This one's kind of specific, and this requires you to understand a little bit about PBR materials. But if you look at the window now, it looks like it's like reflective, right? And so what we're using now is the base material, which is just white. And if I reset it to this, it becomes just flat white, kind of like paper. But what happens is if I make it metallic and then I make it shiny, you'll see that it becomes basically a mirror. And then I should be able to tint the color. So like this is kind of like a tinted glass. And this is a very, what we'll call a performant way of doing windows because you can't see through it yet. We haven't done transparent materials for this editor yet. Transparent materials, one, are very expensive to render. And we just haven't implemented them yet here. We're doing very basic materials to start. So that's how we're getting a window material. And what's cool about this as well is that if we go and we make it nighttime, we can make the windows glow like it was, you know, a night scene, and these are glowing. You do not have to put the glow anywhere near this high. This is like lens flare glow. It can be basically like very, very like low like this. If you basically put it to 1, that's kind of like a nice place to be, like it's just glowing, and then from there it just gets like nuclear. But a lot of cases that looks really cool in my opinion. So a lot of options can be done here. The awning here is again just a base material that I went and tinted like this. Full set, I think it was like that by default. You can change its color. And so you can see now that these new blocks, you have a lot more control over what can happen. And the same block can be turned into multiple different looking materials very quickly. The last demo I'm going to show for this part here is with the wall. I guess I already did this, but if it's desaturated and metal like this, and then we go like that, we kind of have like a, I'm going to turn the glow down on the windows themselves like that. We have like a metal wall now, but it's kind of like metal with wood texture on it. So it's kind of up for you to experiment. But essentially the idea is to not have a million of these different blocks. We'll have a lot. It's to have a really good set of them with a matching set of materials that allow you to mix and match and make more or less what you need to do. So I just changed the frame there. So give that a shot. There's a lot to experiment with. There's a lot of different blocks. And I'll be trying to make prefabs to kind of show how to make things happen there. So let's go ahead and we're going to build our fight pit now, right? So I'm going to go to residential, and it's basically made out of 2 pieces. They're already in there. The drop ceiling and our staircase like that. That's all we need for this set, right? So the floor itself, this one is actually already very, very reflective, and we kind of rely on that. So I'm just walking around and laying out a little bit of flooring here like this. So what we're going to need next is the staircase. So I'm going to make a slightly modified version for speed here. What we're going to do is place this first staircase here. And for reflection checking, I'm going to just put someone right there. So let's make this stair look like it did in the intro demo. So we're going to take our base, and I believe it was something like this. Like that's kind of reflective. Again, you can make something that looks like metal by going like this pretty easily. And then you can also, do I need to tint it? No, it doesn't do anything. You can like change like how metal it is. So this is kind of like a mirror, and I would say something like this around there is more like aluminum. Not PBR, like physically accurate aluminum, but just like it kind of looks like it. If you guys are interested in like actual physical materials and learning about how this stuff actually works, let me know. This material editor is starting to move in that direction. So that is the base material that makes it shiny. It's going to make cool reflections happening. The next thing we're going to do is take the treads and railing, and we're going to just go like this. Boom. It is glowing. I actually forget what I did for these ones. I think they might have just been like a different color. But what I can do now is I can make it dark like that. And we're going to take this and just tint it a color. And I'm pretty sure I made mine green like this. I recorded that demo a different day, but go ahead and you can change the color of the material like this. Pick the color that you want. I would keep it consistent. I'm just going to do green because that's what I said I was going to do. Was recreate that video. And again, we can make this glow, but it doesn't have to be full, right? It can be like glowing a little bit less, just a little bit of flare. And you could do like a full set countering color or whatever you think looks cool. I think I'm going to just keep it white like that, right? So you have this staircase now. And in editor mode, you can hit C and duplicate it. That's one way to go about it. Or if you're in this mode and you're using the grid, which I find very helpful, I'm going to delete this guy here. You can go like this. And so this is spaced out so that there's space there. I should probably change that snapping distance. But then you can just start making your stairs like this. And yeah, gizmos, they need a bit of an update. Believe it or not, they're very difficult to program. As was this material update in general, the concept of this block system, it was also very difficult to program and conceive and execute in Houdini, etc. Anyway, so we're going to spin this. I'm going to put this one here. So this one's not quite lining up. So I guess I can do another one there and scoot this over like that. So now it's kind of like lined up. So we're just going to go and just duplicate these across. I'm just going to do like these ones here. I'm selecting this and I'm hitting C to duplicate, C to duplicate, and C to duplicate. So we have like a 2-wall version of the fight pit now. So it just continues like this. It is actually helpful to have a floor under it, so I'm going to stick one of these. Oops. Go ahead, get there. That one already has it, and there. So now we have some floor to kind of copy against. So I'm going to hit C, duplicate it, and it's kind of incredible once you sit down, which people may have time in the next couple of weeks or months, to sit down with this and just take one object and see how much you can do to it and change its look. You actually do not need that many different materials once you can change. I'm sorry, you don't need that many different blocks once you can change the materials. You can change things quite a bit. So all I did next was I did all 4 sides, or I did 3 sides. I'm just going to do these 2 for speed here. And I just went like this. You might want to hit L, turn off snapping. And I literally spent like, I think 5 minutes just adding people. And in this case, you really want these stand-ins, as they're called, though they're kind of, they look really good, but like for primary characters as well. But we need characters like this because these don't require very much performance. You can have a whole lot of these. You could probably have hundreds depending on your computer, and it would be okay. Performance-wise, if you use the characters that are actually have smarts in them and are trying to walk around and have more complicated materials, depending on your system, you can only have 1 or 2 of those maybe out without a performance hit. My computer can have probably like 50, but you know, a lot of people are working off of like laptops and like super just low-end stuff that was never designed to play high-end video game graphics. For those types of computers, you're going to have a bad time trying to use too many of those characters or ray tracing or any of that stuff. That stuff is really meant for like high-end gaming PCs for the most part. So here's our quick recreation. All I did from here is I had a light source above. I ended up not using it. It didn't look as good. I thought silhouetted looked a lot better. Speaking of these characters, these are going to be getting updated pretty soon. I'm actually waiting till February for like the company I use who makes Digital Humans. They're doing a huge update, so that'll affect this whole pipeline, and then I gotta go sort through a whole bunch of technical stuff to make that work. But anyway, I'm gonna switch to the sword attack here, and then just put a energy sword, so to speak, in his hand like this. Right. So this is the scene basically, and we're just using a shiny floor with some very glowy railings back here, and that's how the scene was put together. So that is the material editor. Go check it out. You can build much more normal looking scenes than this. They don't have to be all Tron like this, but I thought a Tron look was pretty cool and just kind of shows off how reflections from emissive objects look. You may notice that, hey, these don't actually emit light, though it almost looks like they do. There's a possibility that when I upgrade to the latest Unreal Engine 4.2425, that these can actually do a non-ray traced light emission, which would be pretty cool. I don't know how expensive performance-wise that's going to be, but I'll be trying it out. That would be a very cool way of faking global illumination, bounce light, and a whole bunch of other stuff, and that will be coming in the future. Check you guys on the next video.